Family seeks justice for 16-year-old killed in accident. Newsroom Guyana reports, the family of 16-year-old Kimberly Jones is calling for justice following her tragic death in a road accident on Tuesday night. Kimberly was struck by a vehicle while crossing the Bel Air public road around 2120 HRS. According to reports, a car identified as PAF 2130, driven by 32-year-old Paul Mahabal from Montrose, East Coast Demerara, was traveling west when it hit Kimberly as she crossed from north to south. The impact was so severe that it threw her approximately 74 feet before she came to a stop. Kimberly's sister, Keola Doris, shared her heartbreak with reporters, revealing that Kimberly was returning home from her job at Big B's restaurant at the time of the incident. Keola received the news while at home and rushed to the scene, only to find that Kimberly had already been taken to Fort Wellington Public Hospital. There, a doctor informed her that Kimberly had lost a significant amount of blood and unfortunately did not survive. Keola noted that Kimberly appeared to have suffered severe injuries, including a broken neck and head trauma. Most likely the car was speeding. "The way I see that car, it's a hard knock," she stated, expressing her disbelief and grief. Kimberly was a former student of Fort Wellington Secondary School and had recently completed her May/June CXC examinations, sitting 9 subjects and awaiting her results. "I want justice for my sister. She was so young, she didn't live her life. All she wanted to do was work for her own money," Keola added, highlighting her sister's aspirations. The police have confirmed that the driver, who fled the scene of the accident, has been arrested and is currently in custody, cooperating with the ongoing investigation. The family continues to seek answers and justice for Kimberly's untimely death. Turkian man dies after gunfire exchange with police. News source Guyana reports, a 23-year-old man, identified as Joshua Taylor, was pronounced dead at the Georgetown Hospital following a violent exchange of gunfire with police early this morning at his parents' home. According to reports, police were called to the residence after Taylor armed himself with his father's gun and began firing indiscriminately inside the house, forcing family members to seek cover. When officers arrived on the scene, Taylor reportedly aimed his weapon at them and opened fire. The police returned fire, and while it remains unclear if Taylor was struck during the exchange, he was subsequently subdued, handcuffed, and transported to the hospital, where he succumbed to his injuries shortly thereafter. Residents in the vicinity have indicated that Taylor may have been experiencing mental health issues. 2 years prior, he faced charges for possessing an unlicensed firearm during a police roadblock on the East Coast. Although he was charged, he was released on $200,000 bail, and the outcome of that case remains unknown. Investigations into the circumstances surrounding this morning's incident are ongoing, as authorities seek to piece together the events that led to this tragic outcome. Body of missing man found with gunshot wounds. The body of 22-year-old Ezekiel Smith was discovered in the Princes Street area on June 24, 2025, with 2 gunshot wounds to the head and multiple injuries indicative of severe beatings. His family was notified of his death by a representative from a funeral home, prompting a wave of grief and concern. Smith had been reported missing just days before his body was found. His family grew alarmed after receiving a phone call from an unidentified individual demanding a ransom of $9 million for his safe return. Unable to meet the demand, the family's fears were confirmed when they learned of his death. The family expressed their distress over the murder and frustration with the lack of updates from the police regarding the investigation. Smith had worked as a ramp attendant at Jagdio International Airport but had stopped working just 2 weeks prior to his disappearance. A senior law enforcement source indicated that investigators suspect the kidnapping and murder may be connected to a drug trafficking operation, potentially involving an attempt to smuggle cocaine onto an international flight. It is believed that Smith may have been lured by drug traffickers and given a package to place on board, which was never completed. A post-mortem examination revealed the gunshot wounds as well as injuries consistent with torture. The Guyana police force has not provided any information about the ongoing investigation, and attempts to reach the crime chief for comments have been unsuccessful. Ezekiel Smith is being laid to rest today, leaving behind a grieving family seeking answers and justice. Former SWAT officer sentenced to 25 years for fatal shooting. Sherwin Peters, a 36-year-old former SWAT officer, has been sentenced to 25 years in prison for the manslaughter of Orrin Boston, a father of two, during a controversial 2021 operation. The sentence was handed down on Thursday by Justice Sandil Kissoon in the High Court, who condemned the actions of the SWAT team as unlawful, unreasonable, unjustified, disproportionate, and excessive. During the proceedings, Justice Kissoon emphasized that the heavily armed SWAT team raided Boston's home without a search or arrest warrant, lacking lawful authority to enter what he described as Boston's castle and sanctuary. The judge found inconsistencies in Peters' claim of a confrontation, pointing out that evidence from fellow officers and the crime scene contradicted his account. He noted that the trained SWAT unit failed to exercise the necessary caution and restraint, resulting in the shooting of the unarmed man while he was asleep in bed. Despite the prosecution mentioning compensation paid to Boston's widow and the defense's appeals for leniency, Justice Kissoon determined that there were no mitigating circumstances in the case. He remarked that Peters was fortunate not to have faced a murder charge. Peters, who was unrepresented during the trial but later engaged attorney Keoma Griffith for sentencing, will have his 25-year sentence calculated from June 25, the date the jury returned its guilty verdict, and he was remanded to prison. The state was represented by prosecutor Latifah Elliott. This case has drawn significant attention to the conduct of law enforcement during tactical operations and the accountability of officers involved in such incidents. Teenager injured after being struck by police vehicle. Newsroom reports. A teenager from Cumberland Village, East Canterbury, suffered a fractured leg after being mistakenly identified as a robbery suspect and struck by a police vehicle on Monday afternoon, July 7. Orandi Welcome Jr., a fitter and machinist, recounted the incident, stating he had just dropped off a friend and was turning onto Pitt Street when a speeding police vehicle collided with him, causing him to be thrown from his motorcycle. After regaining his footing, Welcome claimed that an officer pointed a gun at him, handcuffed him, and placed him in the police vehicle. He was subsequently taken to New Amsterdam Public Hospital, where he received treatment for a fractured left leg. Welcome expressed his distress over the incident, saying, "I feel bad because they put handcuffs on me and made me feel like I was some bandit or something." The collision also left his motorcycle damaged, affecting its brakes, engine, and other components. "My bike mashup, I had to get it back," he added. Accompanied by his father, Orandi Welcome Sr., the injured teen later visited the Central Police Station in New Amsterdam to file an official report about the incident. Due to his injuries, Welcome Jr. is currently unable to work. His father voiced frustration over the police's handling of the situation, calling the injury and arrest unjustified. "He is not a murderer or a thief, and what the police did is totally wrong," he said. The newsroom has confirmed that an investigation into the incident has been launched, as authorities seek to address the circumstances surrounding this troubling event. Laborer charged with simple larceny. Kamalal Lakminarayan, a laborer from Enterprise Garden, East Coast Demerara, has been charged with simple larceny following his arrest on July 7, 2025. The charge, which is in accordance with Section 66(c) of the Summary Jurisdiction Offences Act, stems from an incident involving Tara Mohan. Lakminarayan appeared before His Worship Sunil Scarce at Vigilance Magistrate Court No. 1, where the charge was formally presented. He pleaded not guilty to the offense. Following the hearing, he was granted self-bail. The case will proceed as authorities continue to investigate the circumstances surrounding the alleged theft. Further court appearances are expected as the legal process unfolds. Three men remanded in connection with major marijuana seizure. 3 men have been remanded to prison following their appearance in court related to the recent seizure of over 24 kilograms of foreign marijuana by the Customs Anti-Narcotic Unit, CANU. Kenner Arjun, Antonio Bob, and Puran Seemangal faced Magistrate George at the Leonora Magistrates Court on Thursday, July 10, 2025. All three defendants pleaded not guilty to charges of possession of 21.714 kilograms of cannabis with the intent to traffic. Additionally, Kenner Arjun faces a separate charge for possession of 3.128 kilograms of cannabis for trafficking purposes. Bail was denied for all defendants, and they have been remanded to prison until August 20, 2025. The charges arise from an operation conducted by KANU officers on Monday, July 7, during which a motor vehicle was intercepted in Dakindaran. Officers discovered several parcels of marijuana, locally referred to as creepy. A subsequent search at a residence linked to Arjun in Hogi led to the recovery of additional foreign marijuana. Investigations into the case are ongoing as authorities work to uncover further details surrounding the drug operation. Fatal accident on Friendship Public Road. Police are investigating a tragic accident that occurred at approximately 9:42 a.m. this morning, resulting in the death of a 77-year-old man. The incident took place on Friendship Public Road and involved two vehicles, a motor lorry and a motor jeep. The lorry, identified as number GE 5317, was driven by 37-year-old Aubrey Herman Lim from Timeri. The jeep, number PLL 8152, was driven by Mike Dasrat, a resident of Lot 24 Brickery, East Bank Demerara, who has since been pronounced deceased. According to preliminary inquiries, the lorry was traveling north in the western lane of Friendship Public Road, while the jeep was heading south in the eastern lane. Lim reported to investigators that as he approached the vicinity of Friendship Secondary School, he observed Dasrat swerve into his lane, continuing southward in front of him. In an attempt to avoid a collision, Lim applied the brakes and swerved westward, but the jeep collided head-on with the lorry due to the short braking distance. The impact left Dasrat with serious injuries. Emergency services were called to the scene, and upon arrival, a team of EMTs transported him to Diamond Public Hospital. Despite receiving medical attention, he succumbed to his injuries at 10:34 a.m., never regaining consciousness. Dasrat's body has been taken to the Memorial Gardens funeral home, where it awaits a post-mortem examination. A notice of intended prosecution has been prepared and served to Lim, who was also breathalyzed with negative results for alcohol in his system. Investigations into the accident are ongoing as authorities work to establish the full circumstances surrounding this tragic event. Woman released on bail after attempting to smuggle SIM cards into prison. Shaliza Smith, a 29-year-old resident of Lot 11 Hogg Street, Albuistown, was released on $50,000 bail on Wednesday after being arrested for attempting to smuggle 7 SIM cards to her imprisoned friend at Camp Street Jail. Smith appeared before Acting Chief Magistrate Faith McGusty at the Georgetown Magistrates Court, where she pleaded not guilty to the charge. The prosecution alleges that on July 8, 2025, Smith introduced prohibited articles into the prison, specifically 9 SIM cards intended for inmate Ray Smith. In her defense, Smith explained that she was en route to work when her father handed her a bag to deliver to the prison. She claimed she was unaware that the SIM cards were hidden inside, concealed within a tube of Colgate toothpaste, a tactic intended to evade detection during security checks. During the proceedings, Smith expressed concern for her young children and noted the uncertainty surrounding her employment status due to her arrest. Magistrate McGusty acknowledged the seriousness of the offense but granted bail, considering Smith's personal circumstances and the ages of her children. The case has been adjourned until July 23, 2025. Following the incident, the Guyana Prison Service (GPS) emphasized the dangers of contraband smuggling within prison facilities, highlighting that such actions jeopardize the safety of both inmates and officers, as well as the integrity of the prison system. Director of Prisons Nicklon Elliott warned of significant legal ramifications for those caught smuggling contraband into correctional institutions. 21-year-old charged with armed robbery and possession of smoking utensils. Akash Parsaram, known as Samsung, a 21-year-old construction worker from Success, was arrested on July 7, 2025, and charged with armed robbery and possession of smoking utensils. The robbery charge stems from an incident in which Parsaram allegedly robbed a 16-year-old trainee woodworker of a cellular phone valued at $26,000, a leather wallet valued at $3,000, and $10,000 in cash. According to police reports, the robbery occurred around 10 a.m. This morning, Parsuram appeared before Her Worship Miss Abigail Gibbs at Sparendam Magistrates Court No. 2. He pleaded not guilty to the armed robbery charge, which is contrary to Section 222(c) of the Criminal Law Offences Act, Chapter 801. Bail was refused and he was remanded to prison, with the case adjourned until August 20, 2025, for a report. Additionally, Parsuram faced a separate charge of possession of a smoking utensil, contrary to Section 12(1)(d)(i) of the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Control Act, Chapter 1010. He pleaded guilty to this charge and was sentenced to 1 year in prison, along with a fine of $6,000. The police are continuing their investigations into the robbery, and further updates will be provided as the case progresses. Chinese nationals arrested for assault in Bartica. 2 Chinese nationals, 37-year-old Kai Zhiming and 27-year-old Xiao Weifu, were arrested on Wednesday, July 9, 2025, and subsequently charged with assault causing actual bodily harm to local resident Jason James. The incident, which occurred in Lot 76 First Avenue, Bartica, prompted immediate police action after a video clip surfaced on social media, showing the 2 individuals physically attacking James. Both Kai and Xiao appeared in the Bartica Magistrates Court on Thursday morning before Magistrate Tariq Muhammad. They pleaded guilty to the charges and were each fined $15,000, 15,000 Guyanese dollars, or faced an alternative sentence of 2 weeks imprisonment. Authorities continue to investigate the circumstances surrounding the assault, emphasizing the importance of community safety and the legal repercussions of such violent behavior. 19-year-old armed robbery suspect arrested in Albistown. Police have apprehended 19-year-old Junior Linton, known as Butter, in connection with an armed robbery incident that occurred early this morning. The suspect, an unemployed resident of Grove, East Bank Demerara, is accused of attacking Yasmin Mohammed, a 61-year-old male laborer, at approximately 5 a.m. on Hogg Street. According to preliminary investigations, Yasmin was riding his electric bike en route to La Penitence Market to purchase breakfast when Linton confronted him with a cutlass. The suspect forcibly pulled Yasmin off his bike, causing him to fall to the ground. During the attack, Linton reportedly struck the victim multiple times with the cutlass before reaching into his pants pocket and stealing $30,000 in cash. CCTV footage from the scene captured the incident, aiding police in their investigation. Following the robbery, officers located Linton at a nearby guest house on Hogg Street, where he was found in possession of the cutlass used in the attack. However, the stolen money has not been recovered. Linton is currently in custody for further questioning as the investigation continues. Police are urging anyone with additional information about the incident to come forward. Jagdio defends U.S. sanctions against Azruddin Muhammad. Dr. Bharat Jagdio, General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party/Civic, PPP/C, emphasized on Thursday that the United States has substantial evidence supporting the sanctions imposed on businessman Azruddin Muhammad and others. This statement was made during his weekly press conference at Freedom House. Jagdio responded to inquiries about the sanctions by stating, "We don't have to agree with the U.S. on the information they have. The evidence of the criminality of the Mohammeds exists independent of our opinions." He highlighted comments from U.S. Ambassador to Guyana, Nicole Theriault, who noted that the U.S. possesses a mountain load of evidence justifying the sanctions. Azruddin Muhammad, his father Nazar Muhammad, and former government official May Thomas were sanctioned by the U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, for alleged tax evasion on gold exports and corruption. Jagdio reiterated, "Whether we agree with the evidence or not, they have it." He referenced a Reuters report from a year before the sanctions, which indicated that the Mohammeds were under investigation by multiple U.S. agencies, including the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. The report suggested suspicions of smuggling Colombian cocaine and illegally mined Venezuelan gold, as well as laundering money for drug traffickers and sanctioned Russian nationals. Jagdio clarified, "It is not the PPP that accused the Mohammeds of gold smuggling or drug trafficking, it was Reuters." He further addressed tax evasion related to a Lamborghini owned by the Mohammeds, noting that Azruddin had posted an inaccurate invoice on social media, prompting an investigation by the Guyana Revenue Authority. "We did not sanction him, but we are obligated to act since he is sanctioned," he stated, adding that several associates of Mohammed have also lost their visas due to their connections with him. The vice president emphasized that investigations by the Guyana Revenue Authority, the Financial Intelligence Unit, and the Guyana Police Force should proceed, while maintaining that he would refrain from interfering in ongoing inquiries because Mohammed is now considered a political opponent. Dr. David Hines advocates for $1 million cash transfers to every Guyanese family. Dr. David Hines, co-leader of the Working People's Alliance, WPA, addressed supporters of the A Partnership for National Unity, APNU, on Sunday, advocating for a significant cash transfer from the nation's oil revenues to every Guyanese family. Speaking at the coalition's campaign launch at the Square of the Revolution, he asserted that each family should receive $1 million as part of the country's oil wealth. "We will ensure that a percentage of the oil money goes directly to all citizens," Dr. Hines stated, emphasizing that this initiative would be enshrined in law. He criticized current government policies, insisting that the coalition would provide more than just a $100,000 grant. Highlighting research by renowned economist Professor Clive Thomas, Dr. Hines promised that the WPA, along with its coalition partners, would determine the appropriate amount to be distributed, aiming for direct cash transfers rather than temporary cash grants. "For too long, our people have suffered. Almost 50% of our population lives below the poverty line," he noted, referencing alarming statistics about daily earnings in Guyana. "We are going to change that." Dr. Hines urged voters to unite in their choice, warning against splitting their votes and calling for the removal of the current administration. He described the People's Progressive Party, PPP, as detrimental to the nation, citing issues such as corruption and extrajudicial killings. "This country belongs to all of us: Africans, Indians, Portuguese, indigenous people, Chinese, and mixed people. We all must benefit from what Guyana has to offer," he declared, reinforcing his commitment to inclusivity and equality in the distribution of the nation's resources. The WPA's pledge to eradicate poverty and ensure equitable access to oil revenues is central to their campaign as the country approaches the upcoming elections. Trial of businessman charged with partner's murder further delayed. Newsroom Guyana reports, the trial of businessman Marlon de Silva, charged with the brutal killing of his partner, Kenesha Vaughn, has yet to commence, despite all statements being filed. The matter was called on Thursday morning before Acting Chief Magistrate Judy Latchman at the Georgetown Magistrates Court, where it was once again adjourned. Defense attorney Sanjeev Dadadin expressed frustration over the delays, indicating that the defense has been ready for trial for the past 2 months. De Silva is currently awaiting a preliminary inquiry, PI, a judicial hearing to determine if there is sufficient evidence for the case to proceed to trial. In this instance, the PI is being conducted via a paper committal, where the magistrate reviews written evidence and submissions rather than holding a traditional in-person hearing. Dadadin noted that the process should not take long, requiring only a few witnesses to be cross-examined to clarify certain aspects. He anticipated that this could be completed in just 1 day, allowing the court to make a determination. Dadadin further stated that if the trial does not begin at the next court hearing, the defense would seek to have the charges against De Silva dismissed. De Silva is accused of killing Vaughn on the evening of February 22 at their home in Diamond Housing Scheme, East Bank Demerara. According to police reports, an argument escalated when De Silva allegedly slapped Vaughn. In response, Vaughn reportedly reached for a knife, prompting De Silva to draw his licensed firearm and discharge several rounds in her direction, striking her multiple times. Vaughn was later taken to the Diamond Hospital, where she died while receiving treatment. The incident was captured on CCTV footage, which has been submitted as evidence in the case. The ongoing delays and the defense's readiness to proceed have raised concerns about the pace of the judicial process in this high-profile case.